All right, so we're going to talk about hobbies. Ludo says hi. He's sitting in my lap right now. So hobbies. So this is kind of the third part. So we talked about proper nouns and common nouns. I kind of lumped those together. Jobs and occupations, and now hobbies. So hobbies are things you do for fun. These can be jobs too. But what makes it a job instead of a hobby is if you are paid for doing it. So for example, if let's say a photographer. So this one right here. So if you take pictures for fun, but you don't get paid for it, it's a hobby. But if that's your job, right, and you take pictures as a job for a living and you're paid for it, then it is a job. So some of these you will see and you may think, well, can't that be a job? And it could be. It could be. That's true. What makes it a hobby versus a job, again, is do you get money for doing it, or are you just doing it for fun? So subject, verb be, and person who has a hobby. I couldn't really think of a better phrase to put. I think in later slides you'll see it says person with a hobby. So when you have a hobby, there's a special word to describe you as a person who does this activity. So let's just look at an example. So example, I am a runner. So one of my hobbies is I am a runner, right? So I, subject, verb, am, and a runner, that is the word for somebody whose hobby is to run. That's a very, long thing to say. So I say I am a runner. So a runner is a person whose hobby is to run. You could have a professional runner. Let's say, we'll talk about the word professional in a second, who maybe it's their job. Maybe they get paid to run. That would be kind of cool. But for many people, it's just a hobby. It's just something they do for fun, to stay fit, and those sorts of things. So the other example, she is a photographer. She is an amateur photographer. So if you're worried that somebody might not understand that you mean it's a hobby, you can use the word amateur. An amateur is someone who does an activity a lot, but they don't do it for pay. They do it because it's fun, because it's a hobby. So if I say she is an amateur photographer, the other person knows, okay, this is a hobby. She does it for fun. She's not getting paid for it. It's not her job. So example, an amateur photographer does not get paid. They take pictures for fun. A professional photographer, though, does get paid, and it is their job. So if you say somebody is an amateur runner, for example, that just means it's a hobby. It's for fun. If someone is a professional runner, they're probably paid for their running. They have sponsors. They're an athlete. Maybe they go to the Olympics. Maybe they compete in big running events. So we can say amateur or professional if we're worried somebody might be confused or not sure whether we mean it as a job or a hobby. Next example, he is a painter. He is a painter. They are video gamers. They are video gamers. We are readers. We are readers. So again, the nouns that we're working with here, we are telling people about our hobbies. And we're using a special noun that describes us as a person who does this activity. So suffixes. So this is a great segue into suffixes. So more about occupations, jobs, and hobbies. Many, but not all, jobs, hobbies end in the ER suffix. So you might have noticed if we go back, we have photographer, runner, painter, video gamers. And then down on the bottom, the box is blocking it right now, but it says reader. You see ER, you see that suffix a lot. A suffix is a group of letters added to the end of a word to change or add meaning, and sometimes to also change the part of speech. So I'm going to read that again because that's very important. So a suffix, if you know what a prefix is, it's kind of the same thing but at the beginning. But a suffix is a group of letters added to the end of a word to change or add meaning, and sometimes to also change the part of speech. So here it does change the part of speech. So part of speech, for example, is noun, verb, adjective, adverb, all of those good things. So, and we're going to talk about how this changes here. So we can add ER to a verb, which is an action word. A verb is a part of speech. This changes the verb into a noun. It adds the meaning of a person who. So we're going to look at lots of examples. So if I take the verb work, so like I work, you work, he works, she works. Work is a verb. Sorry, Ludo. I patted his ear. So if I take the verb work and I add ER, it becomes worker. So work is a verb, but worker is a noun. And the meaning of the word worker is a person who works, a person who does the activity of work. So let's look at some ways ER can be used. So worker, a person who works. Writer, a person who writes. Listener, a person who listens. Reader, a person who reads. Runner, a person who runs. Jogger, a person who jogs. Walker, a person who walks. And again, jog is like a slow run. It's like a slow run. And it got a little cut off, but at the bottom it says soccer player, a person who plays soccer. Oh, there it is. It's on the next one. So soccer player, a person who plays soccer. Baker, a person who bakes. Waiter, a person who waits on tables. So yeah, just that little part right there, just ignore that. So a person who, that one. A person who waits on tables at a restaurant. Server, a person who serves at a restaurant. Homemaker. So this one's a little more maybe challenging. And I wanted to include this because I think this is a very useful word because it does describe some people's job. So a person who makes a home, and you say, okay, what does that mean? This means someone who stays at home and takes care of the house and children and doesn't work. So for example, so if you don't work and your job is to stay home, take care of the house, take care of the children, you can call yourself a homemaker. A homemaker could be a man or a woman. Usually some women will describe themselves as homemakers. So could be a man or a woman. More often it's a woman, but it could go either way. Manager, a person who manages. Supervisor, a person who supervises. So at your work, if you have a manager means a person who manages. You have a supervisor, means a person who supervises. Supervise means to like watch people, and then of course, you know, your manager is above your supervisor, so they make sure everything is, you know, working and everyone is working together. And your supervisor will be below your manager, and they'll be watching, you know, just a select few people. They'll be in charge of just a few people. Painter, a person who paints. Singer, a person who sings. Dancer, a person who dances. Firefighter, a person who fights fires. Teacher, a person who teaches. Driver, a person who drives. Speaker, a person who speaks. Helper, a person who helps. Designer, a person who designs. Talker, a person who talks. Video gamer, a person who plays video games. Interpreter, a person who interprets. And I'm going to stop right here. We're just going to say etc. because there are many more words we could add to this list, but then I'd be talking for many hours, and you don't want that. You don't want to hear my voice for a super long time. So a lot of these are jobs, you might notice. There are some that you'll see here again that could be hobbies. So for example, like video gamer, there are professional video gamers, believe it or not, there are people who are paid to play video games. Not the job for me, I'm really bad at video games, but if you're really good at video games, there are paid video game jobs out there. There's not a lot of them. But that's something, usually when you hear that, people think, oh, it's a hobby. If you say I'm a video gamer, that means, you know, I'm a person who plays video games. Most people will, you know, think of that as maybe a hobby. It could be a job though. So you saw a mix of things that could be jobs or hobbies in here. We're going to focus on hobbies. Again, if you're like, you keep saying this word, what is hobby again? Hobby is something you do for fun. It's a fun thing you do. You like to do it, but you're not paid to do it. If you're paid to do it, then it becomes a job. All right, so we're gonna stop our list there. Ludo's helping me with the presentation. He's very helpful. This is so I can make sure he's quiet. My neighbors keep walking by, and so he's very he's protecting the house. He's been barking. All right, so I am a writer. I am a writer. So subject, I, verb, am, a writer, person with hobby. And their hobby here is to write. You are a runner. Subject, you, are, verb, a runner, person with a hobby. And you might see, so same as with last video, we have a for when there's one. Again, if you need to use an, I will give you that information and I'll share that. We'll talk about a and an at a very different, in a different video. So we won't talk about that this video, and we might get to it this week, maybe over the next few weeks. For right now, we're just going to use a. She is a painter. She, subject, is, verb, a painter, person with hobby. He is a singer. He, subject, is, verb, a singer, person with hobby. We are dancers. We, subject, are, verb, dancers, person with hobby. They are video gamers. They, subject, are, verb, video gamers, person, or I guess in this case, people with a hobby. All right, so words for other people with hobbies. The reason we're gonna go through this, and I won't say too much about these different things because I think the pictures speak for themselves. So we will say the words. These are words you will see in the activity. For some of these, I might ask you to write a sentence with these words. I might ask you to add ER to these words and spell them. We will talk about ER and how do you add it to the end of a word to make our word with ER. So for example, how do I go from video game to video gamers, or from dance to dancers? We'll talk about the spelling rules there. We're just gonna go through these real quick though and say them together. These are other hobbies maybe you have, a friend has. I tried to pick a lot of different kinds of hobbies, so maybe you'll see one of yours in here. So first one, hiker. Hiker. So a person who hikes. And when you hike, you walk out in nature. So you walk in nature. Swimmer. Swimmer. A person who swims. Swimmer. Soccer player. Soccer player. A person who plays soccer. Soccer player. Skateboarder. Skateboarder. A person who skateboards. Skateboarder. That was Hava down there. See, he's being good and quiet because he's happy. Photographer. Photographer. A person who takes pictures or photos. Photographer. Reader. Reader. A person who reads. Reader. Cook. Cook. A person who cooks. Cook. Baker. Baker. A person who bakes. Baker. Guitar player. Guitar player. A person who plays guitar. Guitar player. The other word you might see for this is guitarist. Guitarist. A person who plays guitar. Guitarist. Piano player. Piano player. A person who plays piano. Piano player. The other word you might see for this is pianist. Pianist. Baseball player. Baseball player. A person who plays baseball. Baseball player. Rock climber. Rock climber. A person who climbs rocks. Rock climber. And rock climber, you could do this indoors or outdoors. This guy's outside, you could do it inside. Gardener. Gardener. A person who gardens, who makes a garden. Gardener. Bicyclist. Bicyclist. A person who bicycles or rides a bicycle. Bicyclist. You could also say cyclist. Cyclist. And again, this is a person who rides a bicycle. Cyclist. Knitter. Knitter. A person who knits. As you can see in this picture, this is knitting. Knitter. Sewer. Sewer. A person who sews. Sewer. Nail artist. Nail artist. A person who does nails. So if you do your own nails at home as a hobby, maybe you decorate them nice and fancy, you could say you are a nail artist. Nail artist. 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 A person who does art. A person who does art. This could be painting, this could be drawing, this could be all kinds of different art. All right, so we're going to talk about adding ER. I'm going to move my face. So we can add ER to a verb, an action word. This changes the verb into a noun. It adds the meaning a person who. And there are 3 rules, spelling rules for adding ER. Before we go into that, though, I'd like to just say we can't add ER to any verb. We can't add it to just any verb. There are a set list of, there are many verbs that we can add it to, and it will do this. But there's kind of a set list of which ones it's okay to add ER to, and which ones it's not okay to add ER to, and it doesn't work. there isn't really, and I know I just said there was a list. It's more just something people know if it works and they know if it doesn't work. So it's kind of, as you see these words, just kind of try and remember them. And because there is a list, it's not been written though. It would be very long if it was. So we can't add it to all words. So if there's words that you have questions about, or you say, oh, can I add it to this word? Feel free to ask those questions. And then I can tell you, yes, you can add it to that word, or no, we don't usually add it to that word. Again, it works with some verbs. It does not work with all verbs though. And really it's more a matter of just remembering which ones it worked with and which ones it didn't. So there are 3 spelling rules though we're going to go over. Rule 1 for most words, add ER. So read plus ER, so verb read plus ER, reader, a person who reads. Sing plus ER, sing, verb, plus ER, singer, a person who sings. Ooh, this is why I'm holding him. Paint, verb, plus ER, painter, a person who paints. So that's rule number 1. So we call that the easy rule. So for most of these verbs, we just add ER just to the end. If the word ends in E, just add R. This is rule number 2. So if the word ends in E already, you don't need to add a second E. So just add R because the E is already there for you. Think of it as a free gift. So write plus R, writer, a person who writes. I don't need to add a second E because there's an E already there for me and I can just use that. Dance plus R equals dancer, a person who dances. Bake plus R equals baker, a person who bakes. Rule number 3, and I'm going to move my face again. It's always in the way. If the word is short and ends with 1 vowel, there are 5 vowels in the English language. They are A, E, I, O, U. And 1 consonant, there are 21 consonants in the English language. They are B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, and Z. There we go. So those are our 21 consonants. Double the consonant and add ER. Rule, and this is a rule that we see with a lot of different things. Do not double X, Y, or W. So do not double X, Y, or W. So for example, if we have a short word, so when we say short, we mean like 1 syllable, 1 vowel sound. So a short word like run, if we want to add ER, we're going to double the N and then add ER. So we get runner. A person who runs, we're doubling the N. Swim plus ER, swimmer. A person who swims, we doubled the M and then we added ER. Again, do not double X, Y, or W. And these are only for short words. There's not a lot of these, but they're just good to be aware of. You will see a few in our activities. So just good to be aware of these. And I think so this is the end of our slideshow for now. So I don't have a preview for the next one because I'm still working on it. I haven't made it yet. But we're going to be talking about relationships next. So things like family. So we'll go through and we'll read the one about that little chart with family with all the words that I have on it. So that'll be the last part of our subject plus verb plus noun section, and then we'll move on to subject plus verb plus adjective section. So again, if you have questions on this, you can go ahead, you can comment below in the comments section. You can send me an email, a text. You can comment on the Google Classroom. What you should complete after this is you should complete the question activity that comes after this. So hopefully you watched the video before you did that. If you didn't and you did the questions first and then you watched the video and maybe you had some problems with the questions, you're always welcome to try again. So if there's something you did and you're like, oh, I didn't really understand, but then you watched the video and you said, oh, okay, I understand. what the questions were asking, you can always do it again. And again, I have it set up. It sends me an email every time that somebody sends in a reply, so I will be able to grade those. So anytime you want to try doing the questions again, you can. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoy. If you have questions, let me know. Thank you for having Ludo here today. He's been barking a lot. He was really good the first and second videos, but the third one he was like, no, and I was like, I'm just gonna hold you because you're just gonna bark at things. No, he's been a good boy. He's getting kind of sleepy. It's his nap time. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for having Ludo in this video. And stay tuned for more. Yeah.